Fear is a reaction to an actual danger signal. It is a normal human emotional reaction. Phobia is an intense fear of something that in reality poses little or no actual danger.
لو مثلا شفت تعبان قدامي كده وخفت منه فده خوف ومنطقي ان انا اخاف. بس انا لو التعبان ده ما شفتوش في الحقيقة او شفته في فيديو او في فيلم وخفت منه لدرجة ان انا مثلا هجري من المكان او اخاف ان انا اتعرض له، بقت فوبيا.
Common phobias include natural disasters or elements like water and lightning, animals or insects, blood, injuries or injection. So, how does phobia start?
We have a lot of theories of why phobia happens. First theory is a genetic theory that says that if you're prone to become anxious, then you can have phobias when you grow up. For example, my mother has a phobia of a specific object. I might have a phobia to the same object or to another object.
A different theory explains that maybe the way you are brought up, the way parents raise up their children could result in phobia.
There are certain things that happen, we call it conditioning. Conditioning is a case where when, for example, at one point in my life, I went out with someone and something happened to them in an area. And then I become afraid of going out in that area because I'm afraid that something might happen to me as well and I can't find help.
When I get exposed to the dark, I get very stressed and I start losing control of myself. I don't know what to feel or how to feel or even how to deal with the situation. I start having like goosebumps. I get very cold. All of my fingertips and my toe tips start to like get very stiff and very cold. And at that moment I start to I don't know how to take my breath so well. I start trying to catch my breath in order not to lose control more than that. My phobia started actually when I was born. I guess it's genetic because my mom has the same kind of phobia.
The beginning of the phobia is when people begin establishing their lives around avoiding the object they fear. There are psychological or mental symptoms, meaning what happens in the body: fast heartbeats, sweating and shaking.
الأعراض التانية اللي هي الأعراض النفسانية أو الأعراض السلوكية إنه يبتدي بقى ساعتها إنه يصرخ، يفزع، يجري، يهرب، يجيله أفكار إن هو هيموت.
My fear is from heights. I found out when I was 7 years old, and it's by genetics because my grandmother had the same phobia. I can't go to any high places because I feel dizzy and I feel like throwing up, and I have to take my medications if I have to. So once I had a meeting in the Cairo Tower, and I called them and asked them to change the place, but they refused and insisted on the Cairo Tower, so I had to take my pill.
Every second of every day, our senses bring way to many data that we can process through our brain. So the question now is, how can phobia be cured?
The one thing that has proved really, really effective with the treatment of phobias is behavioral therapy. With behavioral therapy, the thing that we do is something that's called systemic desensitization. If I'm scared of dogs, the first thing that we do is that you expose the patient to a dog cage and you have someone with them in the room. And then you take away that someone and the dog is in the cage. And then after that, you get the dog out of the cage, but you have someone with them in the room. And the last thing is that you put a patient with the dog in the room, and then maybe later on you ask them to pet the dog. One of the other techniques, it's called flooding. Flooding is basically, you know how they teach you how to swim when you're a child and they just throw you in the water and they tell you to swim? This is basically what we're doing. The risky thing about this is, as we said before, we have a lot of like physical symptoms when it comes to phobia. So they could have a heart attack, they could scream, and it could be really, really traumatizing for the patient. So most of the time we don't use this.
The treatment process wasn't easy at all. It was one of the hardest things that I have ever done. It took me about 1 month, 1.5 months to accomplish the treatment. One of the things that my doctor made me do throughout the treatment is locking me up inside a very dark room all by myself, and because he wanted to see how am I going to deal with the situation. And once by once, I started to feel better and I knew how to deal with the situation, but of course not from the first time. I still get afraid, but at least I could deal with the situation when there's a power cut or something. Like I can go light a candle or something and be by myself.
If you're being constrained by a phobia and would like to put an end to it, there is help available. Imagine yourself free of your fear. Feel the good feelings you have as a result of your accomplishment. Say to yourself, I'm going to take a step towards a solution now.